And welcome back for another fun Power Hour podcast where I got a great friend of mine, Molly Whalen, where we're talking about a really fun workshop that she has honed down where we can break it into 15, 20-minute bite size where we can process it. And that's, I think, what a lot of people have a problem is they'll get a data dump, like an overload. And our goal with these series and these parts is to break it down in chunks. Right?
Correct.
Don't eat it the way to eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Absolutely.
Right? So we're chiseling that elephant down.
Yes.
And this one we really wanted to focus on, and I don't want to kind of get too far into it. If you give us a quick overview and then tell us about how we can find those right fit clients.
Right. So my workshops are called Up-Level Your Business. And so we really talked about honing in on your vision for your business and what success looks like, how much money you want to make and how much time you want to
So
spend.
that's even before you even start the business. Before you start the business, figure out what you want to do.
Or even if you're in your business, stepping back, taking a breath and really honing on that vision. And then we talked about what makes you different, right? What your superpowers are, what you bring forth into this world. And if you really don't know what those are, it is important to ask other people, what is it like when I'm not there? What gifts do I bring to a room? Is it being empathic? Is it being a great listener? Is it holding space for others? What is it? And that's your superpower, and really honing in and owning that superpower. And then taking those superpowers and getting to your right fit client.
Oh, and that's what we're going to be talking down today.
That's what it is.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Not every client is your client.
No, we don't just want to go from selling people things that they don't need to really resolving the most urgent needs and problems that clients have. So if you are not, so this world, right? We're at speed of light. Right. Everybody wants whatever problems or urgent needs they have to be resolved immediately. If not,
like turning a light switch on and off.
Absolutely. If we text somebody, we want a response right away. If they don't respond to us, we think, oh, then they don't see us and they don't care about our problems, right? And so as business owners, what I would really like to offer to you is the lens and the language that you use really matters. And I would like you to think about your most favorite client. That client that is a joy to work with. And I really want you to use their name, because when you use their name, you're solidifying that, okay, Josie's my most favorite client. She's a joy. And why is she a joy? And then what urgent needs or problems does Joy have? Right? And writing those down. And then how do I solve them? Right. And when you're really clear on this, you're able to attract more of those same people than just dealing with clients that drain you, that take up a lot of time, that don't value you, that won't invest in you, that you spend all this time with proposals and what have you, and then you don't hear back or whatever it may be. It's just a time suck. And if you really want to advance and go exponentially higher, honing in on that right fit client and then having the courage to say no. Because so many of us,
especially when you got bills to pay.
You do.
Brand new business.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, got to keep your employees busy.
It is hard because there is that balance, right? If you don't keep your employees busy, they'll leave, right? If you can't pay payroll, that's a problem, right? And so but if you're working with a lot of clients that don't value you, that you cannot solve their immediate problems, what do?
Right. They leave.
Well, the clients don't use you.
Right.
Or they leave. Or they do take on your services and then they bash you on reviews. So, and then think about that, the stress that it causes a business owner, that you're so afraid that client is going to go out and tell 10 people of the horrible experience because they're not the right fit client.
Right.
Right. Your right fit client will honor you and invest in you and tell others about you. And so isn't that what we want?
Right.
Truly want. And so making sure that you're really clear on who that person is,
Right.
and writing their name. And maybe it's even looking at your client list and then honing in on your most favorite. And it might be only 20%.
Yeah.
Could be 50% or 80%. And whatever it is, and even 90%, you may love all of your clients except for 10%. When you let go of that 10%,
Right.
it opens up the opportunity to attract more, because you're not spending all your time with those 10%, because the 10% will drown you.
Right.
Right. They complain and you're trying to fix it, and you're sending, you're spending all your resources and time trying to make people happy.
Right.
And
Right.
you could leave rainbows and magic
Unicorns,
and
all that stuff.
unicorns, and they still don't want you or
Right.
like you.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's know thyself first, then
It
know
is.
thy client second.
Yes.
And if you get the wrong client, I guess, how do you deal with that? Because I think all of us have taken on certain clients and it might have worked out just fine 10 times. And it's that one time they're going on Facebook, they're bashing you, they're hitting you with these reviews when you thought you had a perfect, amicable relationship.
Right.
And now you're finding out it's not working. So do you drop that client like it's hot? Do you have a conversation? How does that look? Because I'm sure you've dealt with that before.
I have dealt with that, and it's all individual, and it's what you want to do. But I have found that even if I go above and beyond and send another team in there, and no matter what I do, no matter how much resources, money I spend on the client, it's just not going to work long term.
Right.
It may work short term, but not long term.
Right.
So letting that person, and it's really hard. It's really hard to break up with a client, but clients have no problems breaking up with you.
Right. Or
So-
passing you on Facebook or
Yes.
whatever that may
Or
be.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so if you're not evoking that emotional of relief from your clients, like they're like almost in tears, like you're an answer to my prayers.
Right.
It's so important what you do. If you're not getting that, you might want to sidestep.
Right.
And I know it's hard. I know I hear it all the time, but it's interesting just from my own experience of owning Mountain Maids of Montana, which is a cleaning company. In 2010, in the housing crisis, we lost $100,000 in business overnight, right?
Oof.
In the pandemic, we lost 40% of our business.
Oh my gosh.
And so then you get to shift and change, and you really get to hone in on what you want to
So
do.
flexibility is almost key.
It's very key. But once we decided on who our right fit client was, that we were no longer going to clean on weekends, because I had done it for 15 years. And even though I'm not cleaning in the field,
Right. You're burning employees that are doing it.
You are, and they're calling you and they're getting stuck, or the snowstorm or whatever happens in Montana. And so that opened up the door to having so much more opportunity and growth, and our sales skyrocketed.
Wow.
So
Wow.
all that fear of I can't let it go. I can't walk away from, $60,000 of business during the pandemic when I've already walked away from 40% of my business.
Ouch.
It's scary, but once you do it, it's amazing how profitable
I
you
look
become.
at it as you just sharpened your knife.
You did.
It went actually from being dull,
Yes.
and you were trying to cater the 80%.
Yes.
Well, in reality, only 20% were the ones that actually made you money and less headaches and everything else. So you dialed it down to have a really sharp knife.
You did.
And money's made in efficiencies, right? So
Yes.
now it's more efficient. Your calendar space is now open for those clients you want.
Correct.
Instead of telling those clients you want, I'm going to squeeze it in and maybe burn out an employee that's trying to clean at 2 a.m. just so you can satisfy that client. And then you
Absolutely.
lost probably a client because the quality wasn't there. And then you burned an employee that was perfectly fine working from 9 to 5.
Right.
So it's kind of that two-edged sword going back to that knife.
Always.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, that balance.
Finding that balance. So now finding that right client is key to make your trajectory.
It
right?
is, and
Part
it
of your
is, and
vision.
it does work. And I know it's scary,
Okay.
but it really does work, because when you say no to the not right fit client, the right fit client steps in.
So
They
I think I'm thinking to myself, okay, who's my best client?
Yes.
Or who's, I'm self-reflecting right now.
Yes.
And so I'm sure there's a lot of people that are watching right now that are thinking the same thing. They're like, okay, well, I'm 80% sure. Am I 50% sure? At what point is that equilibrium of A, hiring a client, and B, maybe even firing a client?
Yeah.
And then C, how do I grow my business to attract that of what I give off, right? I want to attract those clients. I want to make more per job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are those bigger houses, or is that just cleaning mid-sized houses faster to reach that price point? And I guess every business has to hone that in.
They do.
And so do you grab your list of people and put a check mark? How would you do it?
So what we did during the pandemic, because it was a perfect time to shift your paradigm, right?
Right.
Who are we going to clean for? And so we had over 300 clients. And so I looked at the 300 clients and who's a joy? Who's absolutely a dear.
So that's like a big circle. I'm
big
visualizing
circle.
it.
Yeah. And you're like, oh, when they call you, you're like, yes, I can't wait to talk to you. Or when or when the team goes in there, they're just so kind. So you look at those and then you look at who's profitable. Mm-hmm. And if you are working with QuickBooks or whatever, you can really see what client is profitable and which ones aren't. And even if a client is profitable and they're such a headache, you see their number come up on your phone and you go,
not again. Right.
Then you know.
Right.
Right.
It's always the callback. And when you go back to clean something, you don't charge again, do you? Or
no, we don't.
Exactly.
No, we're going to fix it.
You're losing money at that point. So you already know when that client calls, you're like, she always calls back to redo that bathroom for free.
Right.
2 weeks later.
Yes. Right. Or whatever it is. I mean, there are some of our great clients we've had to go back to too. So and we want to make things right. We want to do our best. But it's more that gut feeling, like when their number comes up on your phone, it's that internal, like it's always a problem.
Right.
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 And even if my most favorite client calls me and it's a problem that they let me course correct.
Right.
Right. And I don't get beat up for it.
Right.
Yeah.
So if I'm visualizing it, I'm going to grab my list right now. I'm mentally grabbing my list right now, right? I'm almost imagining I've got almost multiple color highlighters.
Yes.
Where I've got my favorite one. Let's give them a royal purple.
Yeah.
Right?
You bet. They're the best.
And then maybe the red ones might be for the bottom end of the scale where like you're going,
That's easy.
That's
the reds are easy to get rid of.
And then let's put the yellows, maybe the in-betweeners, just like you're going through a stoplight and you're like, I can go either way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And obviously I'm sure efficiency is a big one for you too.
Right.
Where you're like, you know what? I'm going to Big Sky.
Right.
That's an hour drive.
Yes.
Now, am I going to Big Sky for 1 hour and I'm doing a little job and I'm coming back after paying for fuel, transport, and the whole 9 yards? Even though it might be an awesome client, the dollar amounts just don't facilitate it, right?
That's correct. I mean, really, we're talking about cleaning companies, but you do need to look at efficiencies,
right?
No matter what, and that's the speed of business and how much does it cost you, and what resources does it take? And they could be the best client, but if they're outside of your area, or you can't figure out how to really make it work, because some clients, you can do it over Zoom instead, or then it's a game changer.
Total game changer.
Yeah, but if it's costing the company money, that's a no-brainer.
Right. And normal service businesses do really have to put that in their bottom line of, transport, fuel, maintenance on a vehicle.
Correct.
And burning out employees. So you got all these variables. And I know with other service, and I've been a lot in the service industries, where sometimes we've gone to a client where it's like, Mrs. Smith, love you as a client. Yeah. Amazing. This is an amazing home as well. Yes. Here's some of the difficulties, and clients love to hear your ideas as well. And you're like, you know what we need to do to make this just more, I wouldn't say profitable, but at the same time, we got to make it worth it to come down here. We're giving out $50, vouchers for friends, for referrals, right?
Right.
And we kind of need that starting next month. And so at the same time, we have grown like that because the client's like, oh my gosh, I might lose my favorite house cleaner.
Right.
And it's just like in a mechanic. If you find your favorite mechanic, you got a Ferrari, you're like, nobody is going to work on this car except for that guy.
That's right.
And this guy's like, listen, I ain't making enough money. This client now is like, I got to do whatever I got to do to get this guy. So the opposite will happen. They'll go on Facebook and they're offering $50 and they're telling their neighbors because they don't want to lose Molly.
Right.
So you've got that connection with that client.
Yes.
Or they don't want to lose you. And instead of actually losing that client, you actually leveraged the client, and that leverage went out to bat for you, and actually you just grew your business.
Absolutely. And another way, especially if you're in the service industry and you're going to clients' homes, is if you've cleaned or you've serviced that home, you can put door hangers out on all the neighbors so that you develop that business in that area.
Right.
It's extremely inexpensive, and it actually really works.
Right.
Because if I get a door hanger and it says, let's say that you blow out sprinklers every season, and it says, I blew out your neighbor's sprinkler, call me.
Right.
Then you're more apt because the neighbor used it. So there's that connection, even if you don't know your neighbor, that you want to use whoever your neighbor is used. So there's all kinds of tricks of it to becoming more profitable. And we can talk about that with the critical steps to exponential growth.
Excellent.
Yes.
And I think let's save that. And so that leads us into the next one.
Yes.
What is that? Growth?
It is
how
exponential growth and how to do it. And we're really going to talk about systems. They're not sexy at all, but they are so vital to exponential growth.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for the next one.
Yeah.
Good
job.